Have you ever sat across from someone and quietly wondered, does he still love me? Not just in the way he says it, but in the way he doesn't? What if the most powerful love in your life isn't loud or flashy or covered in roses, but instead whispers to you in silence? A woman once told me, he never writes me love notes anymore. No anniversaries, no surprises. Sometimes, I wonder if we're just two people sharing a house. But when she paused, she looked away and smiled, then added, but every night, he checks if the windows are locked. He warms my side of the bed in winter. He never lets my tea go cold. And that's when I realized this is love. Quiet, steady, invisible to the untrained eye, but deeply present. You see, after more than 10 years working with women in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, I've come to understand something few people talk about. Real love doesn't always show up in poems or public gestures. It lives in the unspoken moments, the small adjustments, the gentle presence. It's the man who silently changes his plans for you. The one who reaches for your hand in a moment of quiet, who listens not just to respond, but to remember. In this video, I'm going to share with you 12 psychological signs that reveal when a man truly, deeply, and wholeheartedly loves a woman. These signs are subtle. They don't scream for attention, but they carry the emotional weight of devotion, the kind that grows stronger with time. These are not the gestures of romance you see in movies. They are real, everyday actions, thoughtful, consistent, and deeply human. And here's what makes it even more important. Some of these signs are so subtle, you may have missed them completely. That's why I invite you to watch closely, because when we reach sign number 7, I promise it will stop you in your tracks. It's the kind of behavior that most people mistake for distance, when in fact, it's one of the purest, most profound forms of love a man can offer. So if you've ever questioned the depth of a man's heart, or if you want to understand love in its most honest and grounded form, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and when we reach the sign that hits home for you, drop a comment and share it with us. Your story might just give someone else the clarity they've been searching for. Because love like this deserves to be noticed. And so do you. Now let's begin, not with fairy tales, not with grand declarations, but with the kind of love that often goes unseen, the love that stays, that protects, and that shows up in the smallest, most meaningful ways. Coming up next, the first sign that a man's love isn't something he says, it's something he does, in the quiet moments that speak straight to the heart. He craves physical closeness, not just out of passion, but because you are home. They say the body speaks what the heart cannot. And when a man truly loves a woman, his body often reaches for her long before his words do. Have you ever noticed how his hand finds yours, almost instinctively, even when you're walking in silence? Or how he brushes a loose strand of your hair behind your ear, not to fix it, but as if to anchor himself in the moment? These are not meaningless gestures. They're love in motion, quiet, natural, deeply rooted in something more than desire. Over the past decade working with women in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, I've learned that physical closeness becomes more sacred with time. It transforms from chemistry to connection, from heat to warmth, from spark to safety. A man who truly loves you doesn't touch you because he wants something from you. He touches you because you are something to him. Your presence soothes him. Your nearness gives him peace. Whether he's holding your hand during a long drive, placing his palm on the small of your back as you move through a crowd, or simply sitting close to you in silence, his body language says what his lips may never dare. You are the calm in my chaos. You are my safe place. These aren't gestures made for show. They often go unnoticed by others, sometimes even by you. But if you pay attention, you'll realize they happen more often than coincidence would allow. A spontaneous hug while you're cooking. A soft squeeze of your hand under the table. The way he always faces toward you when you speak. These are acts of intimacy, emotional touchpoints that say, without words, I'm here. I'm with you. I choose you. And it's not just during good times. I've seen men who, even when struggling with their own emotions, will still reach for their partner. Not to take comfort, but to give it. Because for them, closeness isn't just physical, it's protective, reassuring, and deeply bonding. It's a silent vow to never let you face the world alone. If you've ever dismissed these small moments as routine, I invite you to look again. These touches, no matter how small, are the threads that quietly stitch two souls together over time. They are the gestures that outlive grand declarations and flashy gifts. They are the reason why, in a world full of noise, you can still feel cherished in complete silence. So the next time his hand finds yours, don't pull away. Let it linger. Feel the message he's sending, the one that says, you are loved, not just in thought, but in presence. And while physical touch is powerful, What comes next might be even more rare in today's distracted world, when a man doesn't just stay beside you, but leans in, listens, and truly hears your heart. Let's dive into that next. 2. He listens like your words are sacred, because to him, they are. Have you ever been speaking, only to feel like your words are just floating in the air, heard, but not really received? Now think about this. When was the last time someone looked at you, not just with their eyes, but with complete presence, as if your voice was the only sound that mattered? When a man truly loves you, listening becomes a form of intimacy. It's no longer about waiting for his turn to speak. It's about making space for you to be fully heard. In my years working with aging couples, I've noticed a powerful truth. Women often don't crave more words from their partners, they crave being listened to with intention. And when a man is in love, that's exactly what he offers. He puts his phone down. He pauses the TV. He turns toward you, body and soul, as if to say, I'm here. I'm listening, not because I have to, but because I want to understand you. True listening isn't passive. It's active. It means remembering the little things you said in passing 3 weeks ago. It means bringing home your favorite snack just because you casually mentioned craving it. It means asking, how did that meeting go today? Not because he's obligated, but because he cares. Your words don't just pass through his ears, they stay with him. Even when you're struggling to articulate your thoughts, or you're venting after a long, frustrating day, he doesn't rush to fix you. He doesn't interrupt. He offers his presence as a refuge, his silence as validation. And when he finally responds, his words feel measured, chosen with care, like he's walking alongside your emotions instead of trampling over them. You see, a man who loves you deeply doesn't listen just for information. He listens for connection. He listens for emotion. He listens because he wants to know how you see the world, what keeps you up at night, what makes you laugh unexpectedly. And this kind of listening, deep, empathetic, consistent, is rarer than we think. I remember speaking with a woman in her 70s who told me, my husband never gave long speeches, but whenever I was hurting, he'd sit next to me quietly and just hold my hand while I talked. And somehow, that always made it better. That's the kind of listening that doesn't need words. That's the kind that heals. So if your partner doesn't just hear you, but holds space for your voice, absorbs what you say, and reflects it back in small, thoughtful ways, you're experiencing something precious. Don't overlook it. Don't take it for granted. Because in a world where everyone's distracted, a man who truly listens is showing you that your heart is safe with him. And while listening is powerful, there's something else that reveals even more: how he handles conflict. Does he argue to win or to understand? Does he walk away or lean in? In the next part, we'll look at what it really means when a man fights with you, not against you. Stay with me. 3. He argues to understand, not to win. Have you ever been in a relationship where every disagreement felt like a battle, where raising your voice became a shield and silence became a weapon? It's exhausting, isn't it? But when a man truly loves you, arguments stop being wars. They become bridges, messy, sometimes emotional, but built with the intention of reaching you, not defeating you. I've worked with couples for over a decade, and here's what I've found. Conflict is not the enemy of love, ego is. And a man who deeply loves you is willing to put down his ego to protect the connection. He doesn't fight to be right. He fights to stay close. That doesn't mean there won't be disagreements. Of course there will be. You're two different people with different thoughts, needs, and wounds. But what matters most is how he shows up in those hard moments. Does he raise his voice, or raise the level of respect in the room? Does he walk away, or stay to understand what's hurting you beneath the surface? A man in love takes a deep breath before reacting. He chooses words carefully because he knows how easily they can cut. He listens even when he disagrees, because your perspective matters more to him than being right. And when the conversation gets hard, he doesn't resort to sarcasm or cold shoulders. He leans in, not to win, but to understand. I remember coaching a couple in their early 60s. The wife told me he used to walk away every time we argued. It made me feel invisible. But one day, she said, he sat down in the middle of an argument, looked her in the eyes, and said, I don't know how to fix this yet, but I'm not going anywhere. That moment changed everything. Why? Because love doesn't storm out, it stays in the room. When a man is willing to navigate conflict with compassion, it shows emotional maturity and deep emotional investment. He knows that love isn't proven in the good days alone. It's proven in how you weather the storms together. His goal isn't to win the fight. His goal is to win back peace between you both. So the next time you argue and he doesn't raise his voice, when he waits, breathes, and responds with softness instead of sharpness, pay attention. That's not weakness. That's strength in its most loving form. That's someone who values you more than being right. Because a man who fights with you, not against you, is someone who's not just in a relationship with your presence, but with your whole heart. And speaking of connection, sometimes the most powerful connection isn't made through words at all, but through a look, a gaze that lingers longer than usual, a moment where time seems to pause. In the next part, we'll explore the kind of eye contact that doesn't just see you, but sees into you. Let's continue. 4. He looks at you like you're the only one in the room, because to him, you are. Have you ever caught someone looking at you when they thought you weren't paying attention, and their gaze said more than 1,000 words ever could? It wasn't about attraction. It wasn't about admiration. It was something deeper, something quieter, something that made you feel known. When a man truly loves you, his eyes give it away long before his mouth does. You'll notice it in the stillness, in the way he looks at you when you're talking about something you love, or when you're not saying anything at all. His gaze doesn't drift. It stays, as if he's not just seeing your face, but memorizing it. Eye contact might seem like a small thing, but it's one of the most intimate forms of human connection. And when a man is in love, he chooses to look at you, not just when you're dressed up, smiling, or in a good mood, but also when you're vulnerable, tired, or even withdrawn. That's how you know it's real. Over the years, I've asked hundreds of women, from young newlyweds to women in long-term marriages, what made them feel most loved. You'd be surprised how often the answer was simply this: it's the way he looks at me. No flowers, no poetry, just presence, stillness, depth. You see, when a man gazes into your eyes without rushing, without checking his phone, without mentally leaving the moment, what he's doing is offering his full attention, his full presence. It's as if, in that moment, nothing else exists. Not the noise, not the past, not the future. Just you. And even though he may not say it, that look carries everything. I see you. I choose you. You are safe here. There's something else I've observed, especially in older couples who've been together for decades. Their love is no longer loud, but their eyes still speak volumes. Even after all the years, the weight of daily life, the changes in appearance, they still look at each other with softness, with patience, with the kind of affection that only time can refine. So the next time his eyes linger on you, don't look away. Let him see you. And more importantly, let yourself be seen. Because when a man truly loves you, his gaze becomes a mirror, reflecting back to you all the parts of yourself he holds dear, even the ones you've forgotten. It's not always about grand gestures. Sometimes, the most profound intimacy lives in a quiet glance across the dinner table, or a lingering look while you're brushing your hair. Don't underestimate the power of that eye contact. It's his heart, looking out from behind his eyes, and silently saying, "You're everything." And while the eyes reveal love, what about how he acts when others challenge that love? What happens when someone disrespects you, whether in private or public? In the next section, we'll uncover how a man in love stands up for you, and why it speaks louder than any compliment ever could. Let's continue. 5. He stands up for you, even when you're not around to see it. Have you ever wondered what someone says about you when you're not in the room? Because that's where real loyalty lives, in the shadows, when no one's watching, and there's nothing to gain. When a man truly loves you, he doesn't just adore you in private, he protects you in public. He doesn't stay quiet when someone crosses a line. He speaks up, clearly, calmly, but with unwavering strength. Real love isn't just about how a man treats you in candlelight. It's about how he guards your dignity when others aren't looking. Whether it's a friend who makes a passive-aggressive joke, a family member who questions your choices, or a stranger who's simply out of line, he doesn't let it slide. And it's not because you asked him to. It's because, deep down, he feels responsible for the emotional safety of the woman he loves. I've met women who told me, he never says much in crowds, but once someone said something that hurt me, and he shut it down instantly. That moment, short, quiet, maybe even unnoticed by others, meant everything. It showed that his love wasn't just affection. It was alliance. This isn't about being possessive. It's not about making a scene. It's about being a quiet shield, one that surrounds you with respect even when you're too tired or too gracious to fight for yourself. A man in love sees it as his job to make sure the world knows you are not to be disrespected. He steps in when needed, not to dominate, but to support. Sometimes with words, sometimes with presence alone, and sometimes with the kind of steady silence that makes people think twice before crossing a line again. But it's not just about defending you from others. It's about defending your dreams, your voice, your right to be heard. A man who loves you will amplify your confidence, not dim it. He'll back you up when you speak your mind, and encourage you to do it louder when others try to silence you. There's something deeply intimate about knowing that your partner will rise for you, that he'll choose discomfort, confrontation, or even conflict, not for his pride, but for your peace. Because in his heart, your happiness isn't just important, it's sacred. And yes, he might not do it perfectly every time. He might freeze. He might process slowly. But you'll know he's in your corner when it counts. Because love like his doesn't stay silent in the face of disrespect. It steps forward. So if you've ever seen him stand up for you, especially when you didn't expect it, no, that's not just kindness. That's commitment. That's a man who sees your worth, even when the world tries to question it. And sometimes, that kind of love shines through in ways you may not feel on your best days, but especially on the days when you don't feel like yourself at all. In the next part, we'll explore a beautiful truth, how a man in love finds you stunning even when you can't see it. Let's keep going. 6. He sees you as beautiful, even when you don't see it yourself. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like the reflection staring back wasn't enough? Too tired? Too aged? Too far from the version of yourself you used to love? We've all had those days. But when a man truly loves you, he sees something entirely different. Not the imperfections you notice. Not the flaws you fixate on. He sees you, the whole you, and in his eyes, you're breathtaking. Real beauty, the kind that lasts, isn't defined by smooth skin, perfect makeup, or a certain dress size. It's defined by presence, by depth, by the quiet fire inside you that only grows stronger with time. A man who loves you genuinely doesn't wait for the moments when you're dressed up, smiling for the world. He finds you beautiful when you've just woken up, when you're wearing your oldest sweater, when your eyes are tired but your soul is still glowing. I once sat with a woman in her 70s who told me, "He always called me beautiful, even when I didn't believe it." Especially then. That stuck with me. Because when a man sees you with love, he sees beyond what the world calls attractive. He sees the way your face softens when you talk about someone you care about, the way you tilt your head when you're deep in thought, the way you try every single day, even when life hasn't been kind. And that is stunning. He sees your strength as beauty, your laughter as music, your vulnerability as elegance. He watches how you care for others, how you carry pain without complaining, how you light up when you're passionate about something. To him, these things are more radiant than any red carpet moment. And here's what's even more powerful. On the days you feel invisible, unworthy, or worn down, he doesn't pull away. He leans in. He reminds you of who you are, not just with compliments, but with presence, with how he looks at you, with how he treats you, with how he still chooses you. That kind of love doesn't fade with age or stretch marks or seasons of self-doubt. It's not tied to appearance. It's tied to soul, and that makes it unshakable. So if he still calls you beautiful when you're barefaced and messy-haired, if he smiles when you walk into the room wearing clothes you feel frumpy in, if his eyes soften when you're simply being real, don't brush it off. Don't say, "No, I'm not." Say thank you. Because he's seeing the version of you that's not filtered through insecurity. He's seeing the version of you that love has taught him to cherish. And just when you think his love can't get any deeper, wait until you see what happens when he willingly changes for you. When he shifts his preferences, bends his routines, and compromises not because he has to, but because he wants to. That kind of flexibility, that's not weakness. That's devotion. Let's talk about that next. 7. He's willing to change for you. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. What if love wasn't proven in grand gestures, but in small shifts, a changed plan, a reworked routine, a quiet compromise made without being asked? One of the most powerful, yet underrated signs of deep love is this: when a man is willing to adjust himself, not because you demanded it, but because your happiness means that much to him. At first glance, it might seem insignificant. He chooses your favorite restaurant instead of his usual go-to. He sits through a movie he'd never watch alone just to share the experience with you. Or maybe he swaps his Saturday golf game for a family lunch that matters to you. These aren't huge sacrifices, but they tell a bigger story. You matter more than his comfort zone. In my work with long-term couples, I've seen this over and over again. The men who stay emotionally connected for decades are rarely the most romantic or poetic, but they are willing to grow, willing to bend, willing to soften. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's a man saying, "I love my life, but I love our life more." A man who loves you won't dig his heels in just to prove a point. He'll ask himself, will this make her feel heard, supported, seen? And if the answer is yes, he adapts. not out of obligation, but out of alignment with what love looks like in real life. Love isn't rigid. It moves, it molds, it evolves, and so does he. I once heard a man say, "Before I met her, I never cared about birthdays, never said sorry first, and never missed a Sunday game. Now, I do all three without a second thought." That's not just love, it's transformation through love. And it's voluntary. That's what makes it beautiful. This kind of man doesn't resent the change. He embraces it because he sees how it strengthens the bond, how it lights you up, how it brings more joy to the relationship than stubbornness ever could. He doesn't keep score. He doesn't call attention to the things he's adjusted. He just does them, and does them gladly. And here's the truth. When a man makes room for you in his habits, his preferences, his plans, it's not just about the action. It's about the message. You're not a guest in my life. You're part of it now. So I'm rearranging the furniture. So next time he quietly shifts something for you, don't overlook it. These are the small, invisible moments where long-term love is built, where roots take hold, where two lives stop running parallel and begin to intertwine. And speaking of intertwining, what happens when your emotions become his? When your sadness weighs on him just as much as it does on you? That's a depth of connection we'll explore next, and it might be the clearest sign yet that his heart is fully, irreversibly yours. Let's keep going. 8. He feels your pain, not just beside you, but with you. Have you ever been going through something heavy, stress, grief, fear, and before you even said a word, he knew? He noticed the shift in your energy. He saw the tiredness behind your smile. And instead of brushing it off or telling you to just stay positive, he stayed close, not to fix it, but to feel it with you. That's what deep emotional connection looks like. When a man truly loves you, your pain becomes personal. He doesn't observe it like a bystander. He absorbs it like a partner. You don't have to explain much. Sometimes, you don't have to say anything at all. He just knows. And he makes space for it. For you. I once worked with a woman who told me, when I lost my sister, he didn't give me speeches. He didn't try to cheer me up. He sat with me, held my hand, let me cry until I had nothing left. That's love that doesn't try to erase pain. It's love that holds it. This kind of man doesn't view your emotional storms as inconveniences. He sees them as opportunities to show up, to protect your softness, to be your shelter. And even when he doesn't have the perfect words, his presence speaks volumes. You don't have to go through this alone. I'm right here. You'll see it in the small things. The way he checks in during your hard week without being asked. How he brings you tea without saying a word. The quiet way he takes on your burdens. Not because they're his to solve, but because he refuses to let you carry them alone. This empathy isn't performative. It's not for show. It's woven into his love. He feels your sadness in his chest, your anxiety in his breath, your pain in his silence. And while he may not experience it exactly as you do, he does everything he can to meet you in it, to sit beside you in the dark until your light returns. Men are often taught to be strong by staying detached. But real strength, especially in love, is the ability to stay connected through pain, to be emotionally available even when it's uncomfortable, to make your suffering feel seen, respected, and held. So if you've ever seen him soften when you're hurting, or pause when you're quiet, or reach for you in your most vulnerable moments, don't take it for granted. That's not just compassion. That's a sign of a man who has rooted himself in your heart. And just when you think he couldn't love you more, wait until you see what happens when he asks for your opinion, not out of politeness, but because he genuinely values your mind. In the next part, we'll explore how a man in love doesn't just respect your heart, he respects your voice. Let's continue. 9. He values your opinion, because he doesn't just love you, he respects you. Have you ever had a man stop mid-thought and ask, "What do you think?" Not just out of politeness, but because your insight genuinely matters to him? That's not just love. That's respect. And when a man truly loves you, the two are inseparable. A lot of people associate love with affection, attraction, or chemistry. But lasting love? It's built on admiration. And one of the clearest signs a man admires you is when he values your perspective, not just in moments of crisis, but in the everyday decisions that shape his life. He trusts your voice. He leans into your logic. And more importantly, he believes your wisdom makes his world better. In the years I've worked with couples, I've noticed something powerful. The strongest relationships aren't between two people who always agree, but between two people who respect each other's minds. And when a man loves you deeply, he doesn't just want to be your protector. He wants you to be his partner in thought. You'll notice it when he brings you into the conversation about something personal, his work struggles, a family conflict, a financial decision. He doesn't present it like a monologue. He invites you in. Because to him, your feedback isn't noise. It's navigation. It might show up in small ways, too, like asking your thoughts on an article he read or considering your reaction before making plans. These aren't passive gestures. They're signs that he sees you as intellectually equal, someone whose opinions carry real weight. And when he disagrees with you, he doesn't dismiss you. He doesn't mock or override. He listens, reflects. Sometimes, he even changes his mind because your insight opens new doors in his thinking. That's not weakness. That's maturity. That's trust. I remember a man in his late 60s telling me, "I used to make decisions on my own. Then I married her. Now, if she's not on board, I know I'm missing something." He wasn't giving up control. He was recognizing that true partnership means valuing another mind as much as your own. So if he turns to you in times of doubt, if he says, "I need your input," if he shows genuine interest in how you see the world, it means he doesn't just love your presence. He respects your intelligence. And that, in love, is rare. Because love without respect fades fast. But love built on trust, dialogue, and shared decision-making, that kind of love endures. And speaking of connection, it's not just about being heard. It's also about being near. Because when a man truly loves you, sometimes the most comforting place he can be is simply beside you. In the next part, we'll explore how his presence, quiet, consistent, and unshakable, speaks volumes without a single word. Let's continue. 10. He loves being near you, even in silence. Have you ever sat next to someone and said nothing, yet somehow felt more connected than in a room full of conversation? That's not emptiness. That's presence. And when a man truly loves you, he doesn't need words to feel close to you. He just wants to be where you are. In a world obsessed with constant communication, silence often feels uncomfortable. But with the right person, silence becomes sacred. It becomes space where love breathes. And for a man in love, being near you, even without speaking, is not a pause in connection, but a powerful expression of it. You might notice it in the way he chooses the seat beside you when you're reading, how he stands a little closer in the kitchen while you're cooking, the way he'll sit quietly with you on a tired evening, no TV, no distractions, just two hearts sharing a moment without needing to fill the air. This kind of presence speaks volumes. It says, "I feel safe with you. I don't need to perform. I just want to be near you." In my years working with couples, I've learned something beautiful, especially from those who've been together for decades. The happiest partners aren't always the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who don't need to talk all the time to feel close. They've learned that true intimacy isn't built only in conversations, but in calm, steady nearness. A man who loves you finds comfort in your presence, even when there's nothing to say. He doesn't rush to fill silence with jokes or stories. He doesn't fidget, look at his phone, or grow restless. He leans into the moment. He settles into it. Because to him, silence with you is not awkward, it's home. And here's the key. This isn't just about physical proximity. It's emotional nearness. It's about sitting in your presence and letting it soothe his soul. Your presence becomes the quiet music in his life, the steady hum that makes everything feel okay. If he often chooses to be next to you, even in the still moments, don't underestimate what that means. It's not laziness. It's love in its most grounded form. Because when a man continues to show up, over and over again, just to be near you, it means you are his peace. So when he sits close but says little, when he reaches for your hand during a quiet car ride, when he simply lays next to you in bed, breathing in sync with you, know this. He's saying everything without speaking. And just when you think love couldn't get quieter than that, it does something even more powerful. It moves. In the next part, we'll talk about how a man in love doesn't just stay present. He acts. He shows up. He does things for you, not for praise or attention, but simply because he loves you enough to give without being asked. Let's explore that next. 11. He does things for you, not for praise, but because he loves you. Have you ever had someone do something for you, not because you asked, not because they wanted credit, but simply because they care? That's when you know their love runs deep. When a man truly loves you, his actions aren't loud. They're quiet, consistent, and often unnoticed by the outside world. But to you, they mean everything. It could be something as small as filling up your gas tank, folding the laundry, or fixing something around the house without being reminded. You might walk into the kitchen and find your favorite tea already steeping, or come home to see he's taken care of the errand you were dreading. And the best part? He doesn't stand there waiting for applause. He doesn't keep score. He just does it, because making your life easier brings him peace. I once sat with a woman in her 60s who said, "He doesn't say, 'I love you' much, but he always makes sure my car is warm before I leave for work in the winter." That right there is a love language that doesn't need translation. It's not about ceremony. It's about care in motion. A man in love finds fulfillment in giving, not for validation, not to appear impressive, but because when he sees you relieved, smiling, or simply more relaxed, he feels like he's done something that matters. That's love in its most genuine form, selfless, steady, and sincere. And here's the thing, he's not trying to prove anything. In fact, he probably doesn't even realize how much he's doing. Because to him, it's not a task list. It's second nature. Just like breathing, loving you through these small acts becomes a part of who he is. You'll notice that he shows up when you're sick, that he offers to help when you're overwhelmed, that he puts your comfort above his convenience. And while others may never notice, you do. And that's what makes the bond so sacred. It's built in moments no one claps for, but that hold your life together. If you've ever looked at him and thought, he didn't have to do that, that's exactly the point. He didn't have to, but he chose to. And that choice, made daily, without fanfare, is what lasting love is built upon. Because true love doesn't keep a tally. It doesn't need to be thanked. It simply gives, over and over again. And when a man loves like that, you'll feel it not only in what he does, but in what he's willing to fight for. Not with you. For you. In the final part, we'll explore how a man in love doesn't just do things for you. He defends your bond, protects what you've built, and makes sure no one, not even fear, gets between you. Let's go deeper. 12. Have you ever watched someone walk away at the first sign of difficulty, when things got hard, uncomfortable, or too real? Sadly, that's all too common. But when a man truly loves you, he doesn't run from conflict. He stays. He fights, not to be right, not to prove a point, but to protect the bond you've built together. Real love isn't about perfection. It's about commitment. And one of the clearest signs that a man is deeply invested is when he refuses to let go, even when the road gets rocky. He doesn't throw in the towel after a disagreement. He doesn't go silent when emotions rise. Instead, he leans in. He listens. He works through the mess, because to him, you're worth it. I once worked with a couple in their 70s who had been married over 40 years. I asked them, "What's your secret?" The husband smiled and said, "We didn't give up on the same day." That stayed with me. Because love isn't proven in the easy times, it's proven in the hard choices to stay when leaving would be easier. When a man loves you, he takes emotional responsibility seriously. He doesn't let small arguments turn into silent punishments. He doesn't weaponize your vulnerabilities. Instead, he makes it clear, even during conflict, that this is us versus the problem, not me versus you. He apologizes when he's wrong. He reflects instead of retaliating. And even when his pride is bruised, he's more concerned about healing than winning. That's emotional maturity. That's love in action. And let's be honest, no relationship is without tension. But what separates a strong love from a shallow one is the willingness to do the work, to have the tough conversations, to cry, to listen, to sit in silence if needed, so long as it brings you closer in the end. This kind of man isn't afraid of your storms. He doesn't leave when things aren't picture perfect. In fact, it's in your most fragile moments that he becomes more present, not less. He knows that love is built in the choosing day after day, even when it's hard. So if you've ever seen him fight for the relationship, when he could have walked away, but didn't, hold on to that. Because it means he doesn't just love you in the sunshine. He loves you through the storms, through the mess, through the breakdowns and breakthroughs. That's not fleeting passion. That's real devotion. And now, as we close this journey through the 12 signs of deep, lasting love, I hope you see one thing clearly. True love isn't always loud. It doesn't always announce itself. But it shows up in how he touches you, listens to you, sacrifices for you, and chooses you over and over again. So take a moment. Reflect. Have you seen these signs in your partner? If so, you're more loved than you may have realized. And if you haven't, don't lose hope. The kind of love we've talked about here does exist, and it's worth waiting for. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this video resonated with you, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and comment below which sign hit you the hardest. Your story might inspire someone else to believe in love again. Until next time, remember, the quietest love is often the strongest. Real love isn't a firework. It doesn't explode, shine brightly for a moment, then fade into smoke. It's a flame, quiet, steady, and intentionally kept alive. And if you've made it through this journey of 12 signs, then you already understand. True love is never about grand gestures alone. It's about the quiet decisions made every single day to choose someone, again and again. A man who truly loves you may not always have the perfect words or the most romantic timing, but you'll see it in how he shows up, in the way he listens to you when the world is loud, in the way he holds your hand without being asked, in the way he adjusts, sacrifices, protects, and stays. That kind of love doesn't need a stage. It lives in the subtle, powerful moments most people overlook. Because here's the truth, love isn't sustained by butterflies or perfect chemistry. It's built and rebuilt in ordinary, unglamorous moments. In choosing to stay during the hard days. In apologizing when it hurts the ego. In showing up for each other when there's nothing to gain but connection. It's in the silence, in the stillness, in the small things that don't scream for attention but hold everything together. And maybe, just maybe, love is less about how someone says they feel, and more about how they consistently act when no one's watching. So if you recognize these signs in the person you love, take a moment to appreciate that. Don't overlook the quiet devotion. Let them know you see it. Let them know it matters. And if you're still searching for this kind of love, don't lose heart. The right kind of love, the kind that listens deeply, stays through storms, protects your peace, and grows with you, isn't impossible. It's just rare. But it exists. And you deserve it. You deserve a love that's calm, consistent, and rooted in respect, not just passion. Because real love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone who chooses you, every day, in big ways and small, and never stops choosing you even when it's hard. If this video resonated with you, if even one of these signs reminded you of someone special or opened your heart to what's possible, I'd love to hear from you. Speech Balloon, drop a comment below and share which sign spoke to you the most. Sparkling heart, like this video if it touched you. Bell, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a conversation that matters. We're building a space here where real love is recognized, celebrated, and fought for. Your story, your reflections, they matter. And you never know who might read your words and find the courage to believe in love again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for loving deeply, for reflecting, and for showing up for yourself. Because the more we recognize true love, the more we invite it into our lives. Until next time, remember, the truest love may not always be loud, but it's the kind that lasts.